Hello, everybody. My name is Deanna, and I'm streaming out of Humboldt County usually, but I'm also doing this Making of America study. And we are on our video number 7 right now in this binder. And if you don't have this binder, you can actually, girl, good to see you. Follow along. Uh-oh, there I am. Girl, you in stereo again. Hopefully I don't have an echo. I got a 5x5. Saying a prayer for me. Thank you so much. And all our brothers and sisters. Awesome. Decreeing and proclaiming peace, love, and unity, understanding, patience, and kindness. All right. Yes. And I also always pray for that. Guard over my mouth. So, yes. Today, let me show you the website where we're going to be following along here. Finally, it's warmed up in my house. Somebody persuaded me to do a snow angel, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. But no, I'm not doing it for everybody else. That was special for you. And you have a witness. You have a witness. So, yeah, no, not doing it again. That was just special for you. So let's go to the site. It's going to be on standuphumble.news, which you can find on .com as well, but just go up to the tab. Again, just a reminder, I'm on this homepage now. Twitch is live streaming, so you can find me here. And that's on the homepage. But if you want to follow along in the Constitution study, you go down to the Constitution tab, click it, and then it's at the very top, the Constitution study. So everything we need is already on here for today. This should be fairly quick, hopefully. I'm trying to keep these down to 15, 20 minutes of content. And so here we go. We are at numbers 8, 9, and 10. I'm sorry, we're at 9, 10, and hopefully 11. So 9 says, sometimes we refer to the establishment of America as a miracle. Support the position with questions from the founders. And it says on page 5. So actually, I'm just going to share my screen and make sure that we're on page 5 of the book. It tells you up here, right above the questions, what book we're looking through. So right now, it's The Making of America. And page 5, this is the other book, The Miracle That Changed the World. You would think the answer is going to be there, but no, it's on page 5. Oh, which I don't have those uploaded. So for some reason, I thought I did. I think I took the pictures of them, so I will have to read. Darn it, I should have had those on there. Well, kids, anybody here do the study, you are always welcome to chime in. This is also for some people that watch it later. So I'll just read it. The binder questions. Darn it. Maybe they're in my photos. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I should have had those up there already. But we're just going to go through it. We're going to roll through it. Sometimes it's going to be like this, but hopefully I'll get it better in time. Because I don't see how else to do it other than to read it for you. But we are talking about the miracle. That's the whole point here. This was the answer to, let's look at the question again. And I'll just read you what I think the answers are. Sometimes we refer to the establishment of America as a miracle. Support that position with quotations from the founders. Page 5, right at the top, it says here, the miracle of America. It's a pretty easy study. So what it says is, it is truly astonishing that after several thousand years of human experimentation with various forms of government and economics, the American Charter of Liberty turned out to be the first successful attempt to build a whole civilization on the principles of freedom. Americans, as a result, became the first free people in modern times. Several of those who had the honor of being called America founders spent their lives and fortunes hammering out the practice aspects of a system of freedom under law called the final version of the United States Constitution, a miracle. So you have, let's see, a letter from George Washington. I'll read a couple quotes. We got George Washington and Madison here. George Washington says in a letter to the Marquis de Lafayette on February 7, 1788, it appears to me, then, little short of a miracle that the delegates from so many different states, which states you know are also different from each other in their manners, circumstances, and prejudices, should unite in forming a system of national government. So he did use the word there in miracle, little short of a miracle, Washington said. Now here is what James Madison wrote to Thomas Jefferson in France on December 9th, 1787, saying it was impossible to consider the degree of concord which ultimately prevailed as less than a miracle. But what was this miracle system of government and economics, and why did so many centuries for scholars and political leaders to come up with, why did it take so long for them to come up with the success formula based on freedom? Let's read on. The founders themselves said that it could not have been achieved without a number of highly favorable circumstances. These circumstances combined to provide the cultural environment which virtually compelled them to take this dangerous and exciting new leap into the unknown. The miracle required a certain amount of isolation, a more or less homogeneous population, a common language, a common set of basic beliefs, a universal sense of urgency because of a common threat, and a generous sprinkling of remarkable leaders in each of the regions who were willing to meet together and strive for a common goal. The presence of all these ingredients is part of the miracle which became America. Number 10, it was considered good fortune that Providence had blessed America with ideal cultural soil in which freedom could flourish. Tell how John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, described this American culture. So let me tell you about John Jay. The first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court commented on the singular good fortune of the Americans as they undertook the task of establishing a great free nation. He wrote, America was not composed of detached and distant territories, but one connected, fertile, wide-spreading country was a portion of our Western Sons of Liberty. Providence has in a particular manner blessed it with a variety of soils and innumerable streams for the delight and accommodation of its inhabitants. He goes on, I have often taken notice that Providence has been pleased to give this one connected country to one united people, a people descended from the same ancestors, speaking the same language, professing the same religion, attached to the same principles of government, very similar in their manners and customs, and who, by their joint counsels, arms, and efforts, fighting side by side throughout a long, bloody war, have nobly established their general liberty and independence. That is what John Jay, how he described it. And the last question, describe the founder's vision for America in terms of geography, population, and worldwide influence. 6 through 8, it says. Well, just by the titles here, and I have some things underlined. In other words, the founders saw the Constitution as a perpetual charter of human liberty that would never become obsolete. So before that, let's see. They knew they would need these constitutional chains in our present industrial age just as much as they did in their own agrarian age of farming and horticulture. That was the line before it said. They saw the Constitution as a perpetual charter of liberty, of human liberty that would never become obsolete. To prevent any politician from shattering the chains of the Constitution and thereby destroying its systems of checks and balances, the founders urged their successors and descendants to never allow the Constitution to be changed by usurpation, or twisted interpretation. It was to be changed only by carefully adopted amendments. The amendment process was designed to permit a full-scale public discussion of any proposed changes. And you can see that James Madison had, he was considered a lot the founder of the Constitution, the father of the Constitution. They refer to him as that all the time. And he said this: I always consider the settlement of America with reverence and wonder as the opening of a grand scene and design in providence for the illumination of the ignorant and the emancipation of the slavish part of mankind all over the earth, all caps, all over the earth. In the same spirit, James Madison wrote, happily for Americans, happily we trust, all caps, for the whole human race. They, the founders, pursued a new and more noble course. The outstretching mind of Thomas Jefferson, which continually surveyed the world in search of principles which would enhance the welfare of all mankind, had this to say in a letter to one of his friends: a just and solid republican government maintained here will be a standing monument and example for the aim and imitation of the people of other countries, and I will join with you in the hope and belief that our revolution and its consequences will ameliorate ameliorate the condition of man over a great portion of the globe. What satisfaction have we in the contemplation of the benevolent effects of our efforts, compared with those of the leaders of the other side, who have discountenanced all advances in science as dangerous inventions, have endeavored to render philosophy and republicanism terms of reproach, to persuade us that men cannot be governed but by the rod. The founder's sense of mission. As John Jay pointed out, the American people had been literally thrust into an amazing accumulation of fortunate circumstances which obligated them to determine whether or not a body of approximately 3 million human beings could deliberately and calculatedly organize themselves into a free nation. Excuse me. The possibility of immediate and tangible success gave that whole generation a feeling of obligation and a sense of mission which they felt compelled to fulfill as pioneers on the frontiers of political science and prosperity economics. They called it their manifest destiny. The spirit of dedication to the welfare of all humanity, not just themselves, is reflected in passages such as this one from John Adams, who described the entire process of nation building as a divine science. He wrote, the science of government is my duty to study more than all other sciences. The arts of legislation and administration and negotiation ought to take the place of, indeed, exclude in all manner all other arts. I must study politics and war that my sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. My sons ought to study mathematics and philosophy, geography, natural history, and naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain. Thomas Jefferson's sense of mission is equally prominent throughout his writings. For example, we owe every other sacrifice to ourselves, to our federal brethren, and, all caps, to the world at large, to pursue with temper and perseverance the great experiment which shall prove that man is capable of living in society, governing itself by laws self-imposed, and securing to its members the enjoyment of life, liberty, and prosperity and peace. And further to show that even when the government of its choice shall manifest a tendency to degeneracy, we are not at once to despair, but that the will and watchfulness of its sonder parts will reform its aberrations, recall it to original and legitimate principles, and restrain it within the rightful limits of self-government. America becomes hope of the world. Last title for this page that they said the answer was, it seemed a stimulating effect on the English that long before 1 out of every 4 Englishmen was living in America. There was even mention in some circles the capital of the British Empire should be moved to America. Says probably no European saw greater hope for humanity than the American experiment, than the French judge and politiker Alexis Tocqueville. We're probably getting into answers for our next page of study, and as soon as I get off the stream, I am going to upload those pages I read so you guys can make your own assessment. That's what the study's for. We're learning how to be a self-governing people. We're learning the things they didn't want us to learn. Staying focused here and not getting distracted by everything else that doesn't matter. There's a lot of things going on. It certainly seems that the tide has changed. Thank you, Eric, for my pretty banner. Good to see you. And I am really excited that, what I was listening to right before this was And We Know, and there's some really good things happening. Tucker's talking about, the J6 stuff, the narratives. There are people that have not known the truth about what happened there. And it's important that we're not believing lies right now. I also not to be getting distracted by things that pull me away from my community, because I'm trying like mad to stay focused on Humble and figuring out our next move of action. Our sheriff is our last line of defense. If the sheriff isn't going to uphold the laws here in the county, then people that want to keep standing up for him need to sit down and have a talk with him. Because you have children that are already being subjected to child abuse openly and promoted by leaders here. So we gotta get back to our law. We have to get back to the same page. You want the page of peace, it's the law. And that thankfully we have the law. We have to know it. So that's why I'm doing this study. What's today? Wednesday? Looking forward to Salty Cracker later at 4:30. Whew, that's going to feel good to watch him drop some truth bombs. It's been it's just rough right now. There's a lot of corruption, and they appear to be in power, but when you look around, I don't think it's going to be for long. So I think all I can really say is I really want to encourage you guys to be on the lookout. I'll be uploading this first page of this as well. But just educate yourself. There's a lot of really cool constitutional channels out there on YouTube. Truth Tornado is one of my favorites. But there's other ones. There's a guy that's doing stuff with cartoony stuff, almost like Schoolhouse Rock. And, just really want to encourage you to make sure you're spiritually fed, first of all, but then more truth is also the laws of our land. And there's a lot of God in the laws of our land, right, Bonnie? Love you, girl, too. And there's a lot of godliness and righteousness, and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is all throughout our Constitution. And it's all throughout our laws. And their principle, one more thing before I sign off, because I'm doing great on time today. Woo! Their principle, number 7 or 8 here, 28 Principles of Liberty, what I find very interesting. Without religion, number 4, without religion, the government of a free people cannot be maintained. So I've had many people in opposition with me from the beginning of this movement who are completely godless. They are opposed to God. And yet they think we're going to be able to move forward somehow. Even Benjamin Franklin, who I would say was pretty godless, but was very intelligent and very talented and very gifted by God, whether he was a Christian or not, that's where I believe when it says judge not lest you be judged, that's the area there. But by their fruits we know them. So, back and forth. But all these guys weren't necessarily Christian, but they recognize, they acknowledge without religion, the government of a free people cannot be maintained. They chose the Christian religion. They chose Jesus, the God of that Bible, to build the principles on. So this is just part of history. And it can be so frustrating when you're trying to get on the same page of the Constitution, working with godless people. You guys you don't have to pretend to be Christian. You don't have to even pretend to like it, but you do have to stick with the facts. Don't you? So anyway, I think I'm out for today. I am done. Done. I hope you enjoyed this study. It's nice and short. I really seriously am going to upload these pages. I'm going to take pictures and upload them right now before I do anything else. So, yep. Good of you to say hi. All right. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Love ya.